First episode of the Kelty Hearts podcast. First guest, it's Michael Tidser. Four seasons as a player, first as a professional manager and countless games in SPFL football. So thanks very much for coming on, Michael. How are you doing?
Good, all good. Last training session in the season, so looking forward to it, and then we'll go Saturday.
So we're going to hear a wee run through the season today, obviously, because, well, it's been a fantastic season, our highest ever finish. It's been some real highs, a few lows as well that we'll cover off, and it's a completely new team, so it's good to sort of run that over for everybody who's watching or listening today. We've got to start off with your first year as a manager. How have you found it?
Obviously, I've touched on it with you a few times throughout the kind of after game interviews, Sean. It's been a real challenge. When I spoke to you at the very start of the season before the ball was kicked, I knew it was going to be a challenge, especially with everything that happened at the club last year. But it was one I was really looking forward to, and I knew once I got my teeth into it, I always believed that I would do alright. And it's easier said than done. Obviously, you need to win games of football. But in terms of the staff I brought in at the start, it was then trying to kind of build a team, which on one hand it's difficult, but on the other hand it was almost a fresh start for the club. And I said I wanted to get the club back to, I don't mean back to the way it was feeling, but kind of in previous years. And last year there was a wee lull in the season, and obviously with the guys all moving on to Rafe Rovers, I knew it was going to be a fresh start one way or another. And obviously by getting the job, I knew, as I said, it was a fresh start for me as well. So getting all the players in, getting pre-season started, just small stuff in terms of budgets, organising games, stuff like training kit, it was all new to me, and I was constantly on the phone with all the guys behind the scenes, Steph and Tiger and all the other kind of committee boys, as well as Jordy and my staff. But we managed to do it and got a good pre-season done. Managed to get probably majority of players in that I was wanting. I had a list the size of my arm, and then it was about going for there. We started the season really well up at Montrose, and then we just kind of carried on for there, and we just built belief. And then, as you say, we had that wee sticky patch, which all teams have had throughout the season, and I knew it would come. It was just about getting it the other end of it, and trying to finish the season strongly, which I feel we have, considering where we went to start the season.
Rolling back before even your pre-season and putting your team together, how did it come about? When did it first sort of get the subject broached?
In terms of me being manager?
Yeah.
Well, when Potsy was here, and obviously Dean and Barra, obviously I was captain at the time, so I was privy to a wee bit probably more information in terms of they'd let me know about them moving on. In fact, they let us know as a group when we had a meeting just kind of around about this time last season, and I swear on my children's life, not once did I consider I just want to play. I just want to play football, and whether they and kind of the new guys had seen something and then they just kind of asked me, it was kind of out of the blue, to be honest with you. But it was one where I thought about it, but it didn't take me long to think about it, because I've said to you before, I love football. It's my life, albeit it's part-time. I've been full-time throughout my full career until I came here. So as I say, it was probably the next step for me. I'm 34, which is still relatively, still relatively young. I still feel I've got a few years left playing. And it was a chat I had with the club, and then it was just about getting the ball rolling for there, which we got done pretty quickly. And then that was it. I was all set to be player manager.
So you obviously say you had thought about it beforehand, and then they came, they approached it, you didn't take long to think about it. See, when you did finally turn around and say, yeah, I'll do it, what was going through your head at that point?
I just knew it would be a big challenge, as I say, and most players throughout all the leagues will tell you, when you're a player, you almost think selfishly about just doing your right preparation and your different things in terms of looking after your body and preparing for match day, preparing for a Saturday or a Tuesday, whatever day it is. And that's what I've done for the past 20 years. Now you're on the other side. You're now having to prepare your team, you're having to prepare training, as I say, injuries, suspensions, people's personal lives. There's a whole catalogue of different things that come into being a manager. But I kind of obviously been captain here as well. I was captain at Morton for a spell when I was younger as well, so it's something I've always kind of dealt with as well, like speaking to players in-house and different things, and always try to help the younger lads. And so it was almost like a natural progression for me, just with a bit more pressure really, because ultimately, as I said, you need to win games of football, or you see what it's like in football. If you don't, you can be quickly out the door as quick as you come in. So, but I don't mind that. That's pressure. I've always thrived on pressure throughout my career. So yeah. So in terms of how I was feeling, I was obviously a wee bit anxious and nervous at the start, because I didn't really know kind of what I was getting into. Obviously I knew the club, but in terms of how it was all going to change, in terms of the circumstances of the club, But once I started, it was just about getting good people around about me, which I've always had in terms of guys like yourself, and as I say, the committee and all the lads, and then my staff. I knew I would be fine, and it's proved alright this season. It's just about doing it again next season.
Never off your phone in that list of players that you had in mind. Who was the first phone call then?
In terms of the first player,
who was the first one you tried to bring in? And
well, obviously Jason and Tamilwell are still they were here last season, so I wanted to try and keep at least one or two. In fact, I probably wanted to keep a wee bit more, but then budgets come in and circumstances change. I knew there was a big chop off the budget for the previous seasons, so obviously getting they two signed up quickly, and then it's more players I played against. Reece Lyons one I knew if he was a young kid, in terms of your Steph McCuskey's, your Ross Cunningham's, and then I had to kind of adapt into the loan market as well, speak to people I know, my contacts, and try and get the best young players, and I feel we've done that in terms of Babbage and O'Donnell. Obviously Rubin's come in, maybe not played as much, but still going to have a really good career, so that was important for me as well, to kind of, as I say, use my contacts, and they boys have come in and done really well for us.
You always hear managers talking about their philosophy or their style of play. Obviously it's your first time into management. Do you think it's changed over the course of the season, or do you think you've been able to stick to what you sort of planned out at the start?
No, listen, I think these words, and I'm on my badges now, and I've done my C throughout the season, I'm now in my B. That should hopefully be done by the end of the summer. But I think, like, in terms of philosophy, Sean, and there's loads of different ways to play, and ultimately you're there to win a game of football. We do try and play. I try and, when I'm obviously still playing, but as a manager I want my teams to play the way I enjoy it. And you can probably see throughout the season we've tried to stick to it. There's been times where it changes, but as I say, there's loads of ways. It's alright playing out the back, but if somebody's high pressing against you, I've got no issues with just flipping it down the sides, and it's proved this season that you can go and win games that way. So I'm always very adaptable, and the players know that as well. But so in terms of like philosophies and ways of playing, I'll always try and stick to playing football, but I've been in the leagues long enough. I know what it takes to win games of football, and we've proved that throughout the season.
How does your approach, player manager, you're one of only a couple I think in SPFL, how does your approach go before a game? See if you're thinking I'm going to start or you're going to be on the bench, how do you prepare?
That's probably the toughest part, because there's games where I've left myself out, and I know this might sound a bit big-headed, and you know me as a person, I'm not like this at all, but I've regretted it after the game, or if I've come on as a sub, and I think I should have started that game. And I think especially with the younger lads, or kind of O'Donnell and stuff like that, and they're probably having me beside them more experienced, to help them through the game when it got a bit difficult over the Christmas period. But obviously, as I say, the hardest part's trying to, ultimately when I'm on the park, I'm trying to think like a player, but it's impossible because I'm trying to see everything and oversee everything. Again, that's where I use my staff. As I touched on it Saturday, I think Geordie's been brilliant for me, a real lending hand when tough times have came as well, because as I said, I've not done a lot of coaching experience, I've got bits and bobs, but he's took that pressure off me, and that's let me train Tuesday, Thursday. There's times I've dipped in and out in terms of managing as well, but the hardest part's probably playing and managing. But I've enjoyed it. As I say, there's been tough spells, but I still love football, so ultimately I want to try and play as much as I can. But I've always said to the lads, if you want my jersey, and go and grab it, it's up to you. I'm not the type, if somebody's doing well and they're playing well and they're in form, I'm more than happy to let them play. That's as simple as that, and if I can come in and try and help within that, then great. But it's been a challenge, but it's been enjoyable at the same time. You
mentioned obviously about having Geordie helping to take a wee bit of the pressure off. Was it important to try and get somebody who had that experience? Geordie's obviously got experience at Kelty as well, so was that something you were looking for when you were picking your staff?
100%. Geordie was the first person I actually spoke to when I got the job in terms of coming in. And at the time, obviously, he's at KTA and stuff like that, and he had a couple of different options, and I kind of I pestered him a wee bit, to be honest with you. And then it was on, it was off sort of thing. And then eventually he'd agreed to come back. And I just knew before he even walked through the door, because I'd worked with him under Tomo, and when I worked with they two together, it was probably the best year of my career in terms of I just loved the environment and how they were as people, and as how Tomo was a manager and Geordie's assistant. It was just a great blend between the two of them. So I kind of pinched Geordie a wee bit for now. And he's, as I say, he's been first class, real enthusiastic about coaching and how we want to try and play, and he understands me as a person as well. There's been times where I know he gets fed up with my moaning and groaning, but we bounce off each other, we don't always agree, and there's times where he's maybe phoned me and says, look, I should have done this for the side, and listen, that's football, we're not always going to get everything right, but to have him like kind of by my side. And I've said this to you before, he's been brilliant for me, and you know I really appreciate his help, and he's a top coach. Honestly he's first class, and I've played in all the leagues in Scotland. I've been down south, been abroad. He's honestly a real top coach, understands football, loves football. You know, he's just really enthusiastic about it, and you know I just feel we're lucky to have him here. But you know, as I say, I'm just delighted. We've built up a great relationship, and we understand each other better now. And as I say, we have our fallouts and we have our disagreements, but it's always drawn a line, and we go again the next week.
Tam Ware's another player who's got some coaching experience in the squad. He obviously left for a wee while to go to Queen's Park. Is he somebody you'd like to add at some point to your coaching staff?
It's hard for me to say. You know, Thomas I've known since he was 16, and I'm 2-3 years older than Thomas. And his path was different. He was doing coaching 10 years ago when we were full time, and you know what, fair play to him. You know, I take my hat off to him now when I'm doing my badges. It's easy to say now I wish I'd done it, but I probably do, because it'd probably give you that wee bit more experience now. But listen, seeing football, Sean, you don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes it's just a wee bit of time and a bit of luck to get your foot in the door, and then after that, as I keep mentioning, it's about results, and because you can be quickly straight back out the door. But in terms of Thomas, you know, he's somebody who loves coaching as well, but he's still 31 years of age, and I keep telling him, play as long as you can. Your coaching career can then take care of itself for the next 20 years after that if you get a bit of luck here and there. But yeah, listen, it's something we can have a half spoke about, and we'll see what happens. In terms of short term, long term, I'm not sure what the plans are with Thomas in terms of playing, coaching, but that's a bridge we'll cross over the next couple of weeks. First
game, you were in charge of Gallifrey Rovers in a friendly. How was that? What was your thoughts when you were preparing for that game and getting ready to go?
It's a good question actually, because in terms of speaking in front of a group, all the wee small the things that you probably think I'll be finding that you get a wee bit nervous. New group, new players, probably don't know them that well because we've only had 3-4 sessions, different personalities. But it was a side I enjoyed. I'd be lying if I say I wasn't a wee. When I say nervous, I was wanting it just to come together and blend well. But I'd seen enough that day, and I knew boys would work and try and do the things we were asking them. And it's kind of a snowball for it, to be honest with you. Get out of kind of a party official game pre-season, and ultimately up to Montrose the first game. I think that gave us real belief with the new group to take 3 points up there, because you obviously seen here on Saturday they're a good side, notorious for finishing the playoffs, close-knit group, and Stuart Peachey's done a fantastic job up there. So that was the start of it, and then as I say, it's just kind of went for there, and you know, I had a good season, so to speak, in terms of highest point we've ever finished, and potentially highest league position as well. So all in all, it's been good, and I said that to you right at the start. I wanted to try and build something. It wasn't going to take 1 year. We're only 2 years out of division. We need to remember where we're at as a club, which I think everybody does, because you can quickly just go straight back down, and once you're down, it's harder to get back out. So you need to have a bit of realism in terms of where you are, where you want to get to, and that doesn't take 2 or 3 months. Sometimes that takes 2 and 3 years, and you know we started climbing that ladder, and you know hopefully next season we can go and try and do better than we did this season.
We'll go back to the League Cup, but you mentioned there about that first game in Montrose, that win 2-0 on the road, first league game. What did you say to the boys before they went out for that game then?
I just told them just to believe in ourselves. I'd seen enough in pre-season. I'd watched a few clips of Montrose. I know how they kind of try and play for the season before, and it's always hard to go up there. It's a difficult place to go, and obviously it's first game, players will have a wee bit of nervousness about them, and I just try to make them be calm, and obviously playing myself as well. And you know, we started the game really well that day, managed to get our goals, and then we just defended really well. I remember that, defended really well as a team. Our distances in terms of midfield for defence, for wide men, and deserved to win the game in my opinion. And that just kind of started us. You know, it's like when you win your first game, because it's hard to get points in the board at any division once you get your first 1 or even 3. We were lucky to get 3 that day, not lucky, but we managed to get 3 that day. That was kind of a catalyst for us to, you know, start the season strong, and you know, I think it just gave a group belief. Obviously, there's no doubt there would be question marks, you know, young manager still playing, blah blah blah, new squad, but I knew the boys would, when they were at it, good players, and you know that, as I say, that probably got the ball rolling for us.
The League Cup alone, we could have probably done a whole podcast or interview on that. The Green at Morton, that was going back for yourself to a team that you've played over 200 games. Edinburgh City, that was a comeback, Ross Cunningham's goal, and then the Ross County game against the Premiership side, to come away with the 2 points. It kind of got left behind because we dropped out of the cup, but what was it like to go away and sort of, before the league had even started, to prove or for the team to prove to themselves that they've got someone against a team like Ross County?
I think that League Cup game, the League Cup game, kind of set us up. The game here against Morton was really competitive. Obviously, Dougie and Andy, have done a great job down there. They're just unfortunate not to make the playoffs this year as well, and it was a real tough test for us that day. But it was a learning curve as well, in terms of physicality and the way they play, and we had to try and match it. Listen, they won the game, but then obviously beating Stranraer in the Edinburgh game was massive for us. I think that was probably when I say it was, for me as a manager, it was a real point. Obviously being 3-0 down
after about 20 minutes.
3-0 down after 20 minutes, and that's when you go, you're in trouble here, especially at a team in our league. But once we got the first goal back, I could feel it on the pitch. I thought, if we get the second here, we could go and win this game. And that was still early, and I think we managed it. I think it was 3-2 at half time.
Yeah.
TV does magnificent with his goals, and then that was probably the first time they'd maybe seen a different side to me as a group, where a few home truths had to be told, and I wanted a reaction from them. And to be fair, they were magnificent on the night. Came out 5-3, and I know it's still early and it was League Cup, and some people look at it as pre-season games. I was in it to try and win all the games. So again, that's probably, like the Montrose game, that gave us real belief to go up to Ross County, and then to go there and manage to pick up the draw. But we had a chip, we could have won it, to be honest with you, on the day, and the boys were excellent. I think the first 15-20 Ross County were really good. Had us pinned back, and then we started to play a wee bit better, and TV on the day again was magnificent for us, and then obviously to win on penalties. It was just unfortunate we didn't go through the group, kind of in terms of the teams that were in it, but again, it showed real belief amongst the group, and I could see the ones who were, hungry for success this season, and it's proved that way throughout. Other than the blip we probably had around about Christmas time, but yeah, that was a real catalyst for the season.
Darren Moore, you've obviously mentioned there, he's somebody you kind of have to talk about. He's brought in, there was a lot of hype about him before the season, given the number 7, and we had to make a decision for him to move on. What was your thought process behind that when it came around?
No, listen, with TV, you could see his performances pre-season and the cup games. He was on fire. Really, really good, strong performances. And obviously he's came through a league that's maybe a good bit behind League One. And you always get out of a player. Some you do, some you don't. He's come in on fire, and he's really set the head alight in terms of his goals, and he's running in behind. In that Edinburgh game especially. Then as the season progressed, and I said this to TV, so it's nothing I would always be honest with my players whether they like it or not. It's just the way I need to be. And he kind of had a dip, and he struggled to get himself back out it, and I was starting him games, and then he was coming off the bench, and I was trying to get an impact out of him, and I could feel by looking at him and speaking to him, and by the way, he's a lovely boy, real nice kid, a lot of time for him, and I could feel he was wanting to play more games, and it just came to a kind of a decision that we made as a club sort of thing. But ultimately, speaking to him as well, he was wanting more game time, and just the way we played wasn't really suiting him in terms of the 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. And it just came to a decision that, he says there were a few clubs interested in him, there was 3 or 4, and I had a good chat with him, and I said to him, what do you want to do? And he said, I want to play games, and then we spoke about different things, and ultimately made the decision that it would be best to let him go and play, build himself back up, because he was used to playing. I think he played 100 odd games in the bounce, scoring loads of goals, so he was in and out, and I think his confidence took a wee bit of a dip, and we made the decision. But it was one that wasn't taken lightly, but ultimately it was to try and let the player be happy. And I've said that to all the lads, listen, see, you want to be here, you want to go full time, you want to go anywhere, come and chat the door. It's and ultimately he's with East Kilbride, and they've got a chance as of next week to come out of League 2, and it's a fresh start for him as well.
Obviously with Darren Moore going out, we had the likes of CJ, Reese, they were banging in the goals, but left a wee bit of space, and Babbage came in. How good's he been for the team? Well,
that was it. I knew there was a space there we like TV, and that's the job of a manager. You're not just letting somebody go for the sake of it. You've obviously got eyes on different people. For a lad to come in on loan for Aberdeen, to travel down, always there, always trained. He was 17 when he joined. I know he's 18 now. He's been brilliant for us, and it sometimes he's the way he plays, it rubs off on other players, because he gets you off your seat. He gets at players. He scores goals. And he's had a great season, and that's the sort of market we've got to look at, Sean. We've got to look at the best young players and see if we can compete with your teams in the league, your Montrose, your Stirlings, your Allows. Can we get them? And you can probably see with players across the leagues at different teams. We've all tried to get kind of a cherry pick, I say the better ones, but ones that you think can come in and help, and Babbage has certainly done that.
I think you're absolutely correct. And the next thing I think we need to jump on is the Scottish Cup. That's sort of the next big tournament that came along. First time managing, and it was a win. Progressed through. How important was it to win that game?
Listen, it's think you want to try and, for clubs like us in terms of financially as well, it's the other side that the people probably don't see. It's huge trying to get a run in the cup. We managed to obviously do that and then get United down at Somerset, and then even in that game as well, I thought we really competed well against a good side. We're unfortunate, and we probably didn't deserve to win the game, but there was moments in the game if we maybe scored when we had the chances, and all managers will say it, you need to score at the correct time, especially against championship sides, SPL sides. Unfortunate on the day, and it's a real learning curve, but it was a decent wee run, and it's something we'll look back and next year we can go and try and be one better again, a bit like the league campaign as well, Sean. That's the way we've got to try and think and keep striving to be better.
4 seasons now for yourself. When you think back to when you first signed, did you see it going on for the 4 seasons?
It's hard to say, innit? I've always I was at Morton for 4 years and came back another 4 years. I've always been loyal to a club. I think at Falkirk was only a short spell for different reasons. But when I first came under Fergie at the time, and he him and Dean and a sole division of what they wanted to do for the club. I don't mean sole division like Messi signing for the club. I just mean in terms of they always explained, look, we want to try and get in the leagues, a bit like what East Kilbride are doing now, what Edinburgh have done, what Cove have done. And I've always loved a challenge. My hardest part coming as a player was the fact that I was leaving full time to go part time. But I remember having a few options and in leagues as well. But once I spoke to Fergie, who I didn't only know him as a player, as I'm watching him, so I didn't know him as a person. Once I spoke to him, and he explained what he wanted to do with the club and stuff like that, and I knew a few of the lads that were already here. It was something that really excited me. It's just a fresh challenge, and I thought it'd be good to go and try and win something, and leave your mark somewhere. So obviously, falling a bit years now later, did I think we would do it when we won the lower league, and then obviously the COVID year came in and we ended up getting the points or whatever it was to win the league, and then there was a whole talk about will we be able to play these playoffs, a bit like Bucky just now, where it was all up and down, and obviously managed to do it, and then came into League 2 again, fresh start again. Fergie leaves, goes to Alloa, Tomo comes in with Jordy. Again, I think the club moved again. And I love Fergie. I had a great relationship, a lot of respect for him. At the time, I thought it was a wee bit of a strange move for him because I feel that the club would go again. But that's not up to me. Fergie can do what he wants. It's his career. That was just my personal opinion. And then when Tomo came in, I think it lifted again. It was his first year as a manager, and it was all new. It was fresh, new players, or a good few new players. And then it was a challenge, League 2. We're thinking, right, okay, what can we do in this league? Because it's tough, it's not as easy jumping up. And then we managed to go, I think we went to Boxing Day that year before we got beat, which was a great start to the season. Just signed we had loads of good players, loads of experience, some young players. And I think the boys felt we could win this league. Remember at that time, albeit we got beat off Annan that day. I still blame Big Fozzie for getting sent off. Still denies he stuck my fingers up to Craig Napier, but I've seen it back 10 times and he definitely did. And then we went on and on again, and then beat Steny out of here to win the league that day, which was a special day for the club because we'd never been this high as a club. It was just a great day, great celebrations, and it's one that when I think back to my time here, that's one of the moments I think that was a great time in this, and for me personally. And then obviously last year again it was slightly different. Tom moves on, John Potter comes in. We still had some of the players there. Potts was trying to bring his own players, and by the way, we done well. Again, I'm in his shoes now, so I know how hard it is. It's no easy to stay in division. We managed to do that, and then ultimately it's my turn now, and I'm the same. I just want to keep trying to drive standards and keep pushing the club and seeing how far we can go.
And when you say that, seeing how far we can go, that's sort of looking to my next point. What's your you start to think about next season?
I think you need to, Sean. You can't. I thought about next season in January time. Do you know what I mean? You need to constantly be on the ball. Again, like football, things will happen, players will come and go. I'm sure there'll be a few leaving for different circumstances, whether it's gone back to their parent clubs. So listen, it'll be another challenge. It'll maybe even be harder this year because I'm maybe not need to bring in a whole group, but we'll just be trying to get certain individuals for trying to fit in the way we want to play. And as I say, losing Lewis O'Donnell, Bavies, McAllister, these boys will go back, Brad Mackay, Brodie Patterson, so there's loads of conversations still to be had. But again, it's a challenge, and we want to go and try and get everything sorted for pre-season, make sure we've got everything ready to go, and then it'll be head down, go again come mid of June.
Yeah, and you can see that, and that's obviously the path we want to take. You've been able to see it. One of the ways it certainly came to light has been through the support. So you've seen the attendances creeping back up again this season. What's the relationship been like with the supporters compared to when you were a player? Has it been a bit different as a manager?
listen, the fans have been great, and I've had some brilliant days out there as a player, and it's nice when they come out and support even there on Saturday, albeit we got beat. It just gives the players that wee extra bit of edge, when there's a crowd and a wee bit of atmosphere and the kids were in with the drums and stuff like that. That actually helps players, I believe it does, because it feels like a proper game of football. And listen, I know it's hard times and fans having to pay their hard-earned cash. We've always had a decent support, buses come down to away games, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a manager, but you know, it's nice for players to look over and you can see the fans. It's the team they support and the team they love, and I know myself as a football fan, and my children, the team they love, and they try and get to games, and it's a great feeling, and we want to try and get as many people through the gates as possible, and I think that only comes with good performances and, you know, try to climb the league. But listen, as I say, it's hard times, so I understand the other side of it, and for us it's just about trying to get the community back in the way it was, the way it has always been, and I think it will always be there. There'll always be fans through the gates. Can we build it and keep making the club stronger, and you know, we'll always get there. As I say, we're still a relatively new club in the leagues, and I think for the outside looking in, I think people always thought, oh, Kelty, you know, I've got loads of money, they'll throw loads of money in it. That's gone, completely gone, and it's now about stabilising the club and, you know, slowly creeping and seeing where we can go.
So next season, we're going to see you on the pitch and in the dugout again?
I think, you know, first person to ask me that, Sean. No, definitely, I want to keep playing. Ideally, if I could, you know, in terms of the squad, wee tweaks that'll probably make this season, if I could get a stronger kind of a base, whether I'm always needed, I don't mean always needed, but you know, I love playing I really do, but sometimes it's important to try and manage as well, whether that's for the side, and I've done that a few times this season, but ultimately I've been on the part trying to manage a group and play as well as I can personally, because I've got my own personal pride as well. I want to play well, and like Saturday there I was really frustrated in the game, I got booked, I wasn't really having a great game, my hamstrings been tight, so stuff like that, that's where I could probably manage the situation a wee bit better, and that's all part of the learning curve for me. But yeah, next season, to answer your question, yeah, I want to still play and try and help the lads and, you know, help the club as a whole, whether it's manager and player.
Right, thanks very much, Michael.
No problem.